Morning, Nick. How are you?
Oh, morning. Sorry, I was putting a slightly odd face there. Uh, Very well. Summer has arrived in Scotland,
It
so
has.
that's a nice thing, isn't it?
Yes, it really has. We're on the last bit of the sales model, which has been very popular, I have to say.
So that's you and your children watching it.
Yeah, and we're on to the ask. And I think this is the bit that most people have a problem with when it comes to selling their services, either asking for the meeting, asking for the appointment, asking for the sale, asking for the money. And I think a lot of people struggle with this. So what would you say to that, Nick?
Don't struggle.
What should they do instead of struggling?
Relax.
Okay.
You want more than that, don't you?
Yeah, I do really. And I think, to be honest, our viewer wants more than that.
When you are developing business, so here we are, we've targeted you with a potential client, you've connected with them, you're now meeting them, you may be having a cup of coffee with them, either at a coffee place when they open, or at their offices, or like this. If you followed up with somebody after a networking event and you go and have a cup of coffee with them, they do know why it is that you are having a cup of coffee with them. They do know why you are sitting in their office. They know that you are sitting in their office because you probably want to sell them either your products or service, but equally, the only reason that you're having coffee with them is because they might well be interested. Because if they weren't interested whatsoever at all, either now or sometime in the future, they probably wouldn't be sitting with you. So you are perfectly, I was going to say you're perfectly within your rights. It's more than that. You actually have to. You have to, all things, assuming everything goes well during this meeting, and it's obvious that you could do some work with them and you would like to do some work with them. You know, if you find the person obnoxious, then you're not going to ask for the work. But at the end of it, you should say, well, look, it's been really great speaking to you back. It's been fantastic learning about your business and what you want to achieve. I think we could work well together. We'd love to do this for you. So how do we make that happen?
Great.
And that's asking for the work. I think some people are under the impression that there's some kind of clever closing techniques and you go in all aggressive, but you don't. And I've used that word love there, and I use that a lot. I say to people, I would love to do some work for you. You know, for training services, I'd love to do that piece of work for you. So how do we make that happen? What are the next steps? And that's asking for the work.
It is, and the way I frame it, similar to you, I'll say, you know, you're exactly the kind of business that I really enjoy working with. I'd be really happy to work with you if you want to work with me. So how would you like to take things forward? I usually meet the rest of the board to make sure that they like me and they can work with me, and then we usually go from there. Is that okay? And they say, yeah, I'll set up the meeting with the board.
Yeah.
And I think they ask for the next step. It's not the ask for the sign on the dotted line right now.
No, it's not sticking that order form in front of people. No.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And I think people get a little bit overwhelmed. Well, I can't ask for everything now. That's too much. No, you just ask for the next little bit of the step in the process.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's a much easier thing to do. Easier.
Make it clear that you would like to provide, that you would like to work with this person, you'd like to provide them with this particular good or service. That's what you need to do. And I teach this. And in fact, only yesterday I'd done some teaching last year where the delegates had to keep a learning journal and reflect on their experiences doing business development since attending a course that I delivered in the autumn of last year. And I was reading through about 12 of them yesterday. And so many of them said, you know, I decided to take on Nick's approach of just being a bit more direct and making it clear. And what they all said is like, the thing that they were most surprised at is that people weren't shocked, is that people weren't offended.
No.
And actually, for a number of them, for over half of them, it resulted in work there and then. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, let's do this. And they're like, oh. You know, I think sometimes people think this, it's almost as though a bolt of lightning is going to sort of break over them because they've dared to make it clear. But it's so important in sales. Otherwise, that you're in a never-ending courtship, because I hope people are seeing is that when you're kind of, to use an old-fashioned word, you're trying to woo a potential client. There is a courtship. There's a process, much there is in a personal relationship, and unless you ask. And I've met lots of people who are in this situation. You're in this never-ending courtship where you're taking people out for lunch, you're taking them to dinner, you're taking them to golf, you're taking them to the art galleries and inviting them to networking events, in presumably some kind of hope that eventually you'll network them to death, entertain them to death, and they'll just give in and go, oh, for God's sake, I'll give you some work. And, you know, just to stop you taking me for lunch. You know, you need to move it forward.
And finally, dealing with the rejection. If somebody says, no, now's not the right time, I don't want to work with you at the moment. I think, again, people are a bit afraid of that. And there's a couple of things. One, a no is just a no, not now. And certainly it's some clients that I work with today took me 4 years to get. So, you know, a no is not forever necessarily. And also, we used to have a phrase, didn't we, when we ran the recruitment business? We would just go, next.
Yes, next.
Because there are nearly 9 billion people on the planet. Not everybody is going to want to work with you, and that's okay. And if one person doesn't want to work with you, there are going to be 50, 100, 1,000 others that will want to work with you. And that's something to always remember. There's always more business out there.
Yeah, it's not personal.
No,
it's not. It's not pervasive.
No.
In other words, just because that particular hotel won't buy off you doesn't mean no hotel in the world will buy off you. And it's not permanent. As you say, I have a very, very good client that I go and I've delivered training to them internationally. But it was 7 years after I first approached them that they became a client. You know, just no doesn't mean never. It just means not, as you say, just not at the moment or not yet. And that's good, because that means you then stop wasting your time with that person and you move on to the next one. I mean, one of the things in business development is you want to win fast but also lose fast.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things in sales, and I was saying this to somebody yesterday actually, salespeople hate, oh well, I'll think about it. Because when you hear I'll think about it from a potential client, it means no. It's just that they've not got the spine to say no.
Yeah, it's true.
And I would much rather a polite no, but no. Go, great, I'm not wasting your time, I'll move on, but I'll think about it. So what is that? I'll think about it. We're having a barbecue at the weekend. Do you want to come? Well, we'll think about it. They're not coming to your bloody barbecue, are they?
No, they're really not.
No.
Right, brilliant. That's wonderful, Nick. Thanks. And we'll think about what we're going to do next. We haven't decided yet, have we?
Well, I have a smorgasbord of ideas, I have to say.
A buffet. Wonderful. Speak to you soon.
Bye. Bye.